Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Prof. Dan Tutorials. Well, it's a new president in town, and a new executive order is making waves in the immigration world. It changes how birthright citizenship applies to children born in the US, specifically targeting families on temporary visas like F1, H1B, J1, and even those awaiting their green cards under EB2 NIW. Hence, in this video, I will break it down how this impacts international students, temporary workers, asylum seekers, and more. Plus, I will also share some practical advice on what you can possibly do to navigate these changes. If you or someone you know could be impacted by this, you won't probably want to miss this. So stay tuned to the end for detailed insights. And towards the end, I'll also provide a summarized table that will give you, a very good grasp or insight of this video. Along the line, we're also going to be learning a lot of things. In all of these, please do take notes. This video is all for educational or informational purpose only. And do not take it as a legal advice. The first thing I'm going to look at briefly is the executive order itself. But my advice would be that please check the description of this video. There is a link there, and you can access the executive order from this link. Read it thoroughly and have the understanding. In a nutshell, this executive order includes changes to birthright citizenship for children born to certain temporary visa holders or undocumented individuals. And this executive order applies to birth within the US after 30 days from the order's effective date. The order's effective date was yesterday, so 30 days after that, so it's a short time. The first thing I want to look at is impact on international students, that is those that are on F1 or F2 visas. My heart are with you all because I do know many of you are in different situations or scenarios, especially when, it involves spouse, those that are married and they are together. Why one is studying, the other one is on student, or the other one is on dependent visa, the other one is on student visa, things like that. Yeah, it's really heartbreaking somehow. But then what can be done? There are possible way out though. So for F1 and F2 visa holders, this order introduces a significant shift, honestly. Previously, children born in the US to international students were granted citizenship. However, now this is no longer the case, unless if and only if one parent is a US citizen or a lawful permanent resident. So, for example, if you are an F1 student, say you're studying in California, maybe you are from India or you're from anywhere across the globe, and your spouse is on F2 visa, let's say the spouse is pregnant, or even if you are the one studying and you are pregnant, it probably means that this law means your child won't automatically qualify for US citizenship, unlike before. Yeah, that's heartbreaking, right? But let's still continue and see what are the possible ways out. The next is going to be on impact on temporary visa holders in other categories. So this also applies to all temporary visa, categories such as the H-1B, the popular H-1B, right? L1, J1, even B1 or B2, or tourist visas, visitors visas, and others. This change also affects all of these temporary visa holders that I've just listed. For instance, if you are on an H-1B visa and your spouse is on an H-4 visa, then your newborn will not be a US citizen under this new rule. Similarly, if you are here on, let's say, J1 research scholar with a J2 dependent, your child will also be excluded from citizenship. And this is really a huge shift that impacts families in various professional and personal circumstances. Yeah, it's quite unfortunate, right? But again, what's the way out? Stay tuned to the end of the video and we shall see some insights or tips. The next I'm going to look at is impact on EB2 NIW approved, but priority date not current. And my videos have always centered around self-petitioners, EB2 NIW, or the EB1A. So, even though I don't want to go into this kind of video, but I felt it's a must for me to also share and reiterate it again. The same thing, evangelism, I've been doing all this while, encouraging you all to self-petition for this, positioning yourself and the likes. This is really important at this stage, even with this kind of executive order. We all know, truth be told, majority of people, or let's say majority of international students who come to this country want to have the opportunity to remain, to become a permanent resident. And majority also come with their family while they are studying for emotional support. So, and at the end of the day, majority also give birth. So this is really a big impact. But then what do we do? Now, even for those who have been approved under this EB2 NIW, but are still waiting for their priority date to be current, this rule also applies. So let's assume an environmental scientist already has an approved EB2 NIW petition, and the priority date isn't current yet. So that means the person is still waiting to adjust status. Like if the person is in the US, you are still waiting, you are still on the queue. If such person have a child during this waiting time, then the child will not qualify for US citizenship unless the parent obtains lawful permanent residency before the birth. This implies, or by implication, we see that someone with an approved EB2 NIW whose priority date is not current, I will assume that such person is holding a non-immigrant visa, which could be, let's say you are a student, F1 or F2, or we have some that are even on J1 and the likes, H1B, or even visitors visa. So you are on a non-immigrant visa category. So which means you are here temporarily. And the question would be, so I already have an EB2 NIW approval. Yes, that is good, but you've not changed your status and you've not gotten your green card. You've not become a permanent resident. So I know this is also like a bad news, so to say, to some folks. But what can you do? Let's see. Before I give you further insight, I also want to talk about impact on asylum seekers, those with either pending or approved cases. I am aware of folks who are still on asylum application pending, and they've gone ahead to apply for EB2 NIW, and they've even gotten approval. That is good news. However, their date is still not current, and they cannot proceed to adjusting their status yet. So as a result of that is why I'm also throwing a little bit educational information on asylum seekers, what impacts. So this is my own view to this. Now, this executive order has different implications depending on whether your asylum status is approved or is still pending. So if your asylum case is approved, you are considered a lawful permanent resident under the U.S. immigration law, which simply implies that your child born in the U.S. will still qualify for birthright citizenship. And remember that even for an approved asylum seeker, there is a number of, year, I think about 1 year, if my memory serves me right, I think about 1 year that you have to wait before you can apply for your permanent residence, which is the green card. So you want to factor in all of these as well. However, if your case is still pending, I think things are more complex. And I will explain why my view is like that. Pending asylum status literally means you are in the US legally. Yes, we know that. That's why you can have a social security number. You can even have employment authorization card and you are already working. I know that. But you are here temporarily. And that status does not meet the executive order's requirements for citizenship. Because the executive order, if you go read it again, it applies to those who are in the US temporarily, even if they are legally present, but temporarily. So even though the executive order did not mention outrightly asylum, this is my own view and interpretation to this. So if you are an asylum seeker awaiting a decision, I think your child born during this time may not qualify for US citizenship under this new executive order. For example, if you are a family from a particular country X seeking asylum and your case is still in process, yes, you've applied, which is good. Your newborn citizenship might be imparted unless your case is approved before the birth. I'll also give you an example. Let's assume a family from country Y applied for asylum in 2023, for example, and their case is still pending as of this January 2025. If they have a child in, say, February, sometime late end February 2025, after this 30 days grace period for this executive order to come to order as reached, that child would not automatically qualify for US citizenship because the parent status is considered temporary. To me, that's the way I see it. And this is indeed a significant shift for asylum-seeking families as well. As far as this aspect is concerned, my own educational advice would be, please consult with an immigration attorney to understand your options and, again, maybe for clarity. And if possible, if that you find yourself in this situation, maybe you want to plan for childbirth after securing an approved status to avoid complications with citizenship eligibility for your child. These are just my own opinion. Next, let's look at I want to give like a general advice for affected families because I'm aware family is great, and many people that also come to the US is all because of family, because you want to give the best to your family. You want perhaps your offsprings, your children to become a US citizen at the end of the day. That's the goal of many, right? And that's why I'm talking about this. My advice, again, it's your choice to choose it or not, or make use of it or not. It's not a legal advice. Please position yourself and consider applying for EB1A. EB1A is also an alternative immigration pathway to EB2 NIW, which many of you all have applied for. EB1A is current. Current means visas are readily available. And if you file the petition and you receive an approval, then it simply means you can adjust your status immediately and in few months get your permanent resident and become a green card holder. That way, you can scale through this executive order, right? You may give it a try. Just, you know, it can work out. So give it a try. But in doing so, you want to be very calculative. And that's why I advise folks position yourself for it. Some have taken this advice, and for the past 1 year, so to say, they've been positioning themselves for EB1A. Can you position yourself? Yes, you can, meaningfully. It is possible. In fact, we have many with approved EB2 NIW who have since gone ahead to apply for EB1A. They already have an EB2 NIW approved. They position themselves, they listen to advice, they look at it holistically, they look at what they can put together, they look at what they can do, they look at how they can continue to, make significant contribution in their field of expertise, contributing to US national importance, positioning themselves over the year. And now these folks have also gotten approval for EB1A. And these sort of people now will be happy with, their situation, that thanks that they apply for this and they have the approval, and this executive order does not necessarily have an impact, so to say, on them. So that's going to be a simple truth advice I can give to you. If you don't know how to position yourself, you can reach out. Let your CV, detailed CV, be well scrutinized, and let opinion be given to you as to areas you can focus on and still do so. Be proactive. That would be my advice. Be proactive. Because for me, I think with this kind of situation, and of course, the record already shows that there are more applicants for EB1A. And if that's the case, who knows, maybe in few months or years' time, EB1A will also not be current anymore. Who knows? Perhaps that's the way it may go. All right, having said that, for others, giving birth outside the US might also be a better option. If citizenship is a priority, you may want to think through, okay, do I have another option to consider? If you think through very well, you would see perhaps maybe neighboring countries to US may have that option. So you want to think through about that yourself. And lastly, again and again, please, you may want to consult with an immigration attorney. And for me, I would say stay up to date on policy changes and also plan ahead. These are my advice to you all. As I begin to round up, there is a table on the screen. You can pause the video and go through this table. I'm not going to read it verbatim. And so I'm just going to leave you all with this summarized table. And these are, again, are my opinion and educational advice and the impact on different visa categories, or even if you are having a pending EB2 NIW case, like I've said in the beginning of the video. Now, another thing I want to draw your attention to be mindful of or watch out for is that agencies like the Department of Homeland Security, Department of State, and others who now they are required to comply with this executive order or directives. You may want to look out for maybe updated policies, maybe public guidance they will offer, and things like that from these agencies. That's what I will assume. Just as we had on January 15, 2025, there was an updated policy to the EB2 NIW, something like that. So you should possibly expect such kind of updated policy or latest news or trend. All this kind of information are key and they can be really helpful. I also want you to note, though, again, in my own line of thought, executive orders can be challenged, even in court, if individuals, organizations, or even states believe the executive order violates the Constitution or existing federal law. So that's possible. I'll give you like I think two different examples. If you remember the 2017 travel ban, that was executive order, I think 13769, if I'm right. That order faced multiple legal challenges before, its revised version was upheld by the Supreme Court. So that's an example. If you also remember DACA, that's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, it was also challenged and partially, I would say, well, I think partially blocked in court, despite being issued as a presidential directive. So when you look at all these, you would see that in the upcoming days or in this year, in the course of this year, one should expect some kind of update. So you want to stay informed and be aware of all of these things. Always be proactive, and that's one thing I'm just going to say. When you are supposed to act, please act. Don't procrastinate. Take action. Make move so that when things like this happen, it doesn't impact you negatively. On a final note, thank you so much to you all who have been supporting Prof. Dan YouTube channel. You know what I try to do is to help you all bring my educational lens of view to assist you in understanding the self-petition and especially EB2 NIW and the EB1A. I hope you all are utilizing all of these things. You are getting encouraged and you are doing something in order to change the narrative and make life better for your offspring. If you are yet to subscribe, please do so. Please do so. Some of you are viewers, you've not subscribed. Subscribe to Prof. Dan YouTube channel now. All right, you can see on the screen, there are also different social media handles, YouTube, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Try to follow us. At times, there are different posting that we put up across these social media platforms. For example, on LinkedIn, there was an article we put out there. This again, for some of you, you don't want to watch videos, you can read. So yes, utilize all these other social media handles. And that's gonna be it for this video. I wish you all the best. If you are impacted by this executive order and you've been thinking like, what do? I understand, honestly. Or you have your dependent pregnant and you feel like, this is not what I was thinking. I understand. Imagine you can reverse that kind of pregnancy by saying you want to take it out now because of this or that. It's just what it is. But then keep your faith high Stay hopeful, be proactive, and make move. I wish you all the best. I will see you again in another video. Bye. Peace out.